Darkness, take what is already mine.
Witchfire throws 6 classes in a pile of stats at you, and then basically says, good luck to you. The tooltips are fine, but they don't tell you what those choices feel like once you're actually in fights, dying to trash mobs, or gassing out after 2 dodges. In this guide, we're going to match your playstyle to the right starting class and translate those stats into real gameplay without it turning into a math lecture. Let's start with the stats because they quietly decide whether your build starts out smooth or painful. Also remember, you can always respec later if you change your mind. And if guides like this help you dodge bad class choices and smooth out your runs, consider subscribing so you don't miss my next Witchfire breakdown. Understanding the stats. We'll go one by one so you can understand how each one builds into your specific playstyle. First one is Flesh. How many mistakes can you survive? Flesh is your max health and your raw physical resilience. This is the how many mistakes can I make before I explode stat. If you're getting chunked by basic enemies or one-shot by big telegraphed attacks, you raise Flesh. It doesn't make you immortal, but it gives you breathing room to learn patterns, eat a hit, and keep playing instead of resetting back at the hub. This is a great starting stat. Blood handles stamina, your dashes, your jumps, and how quickly you recover after you spam movement. If combat feels sluggish, if you roll twice and then just wheeze in place while enemies surround you, you're low on blood. If you're the kind of player who likes aggressive repositioning, dodging, sprinting, staying glued to the mid-range, you want this stat at a comfortable level. If you play slow and deliberate, hanging back, it's less critical but still noticeable. Mind is your support brain. It makes healing items and other recovery tools more effective, and it helps with things like sanity resistance and the can I stay out here longer question. Mind doesn't directly buff your damage, but it makes your runs more sustainable. If you're planning longer trips or you find yourself limping from fight to fight, burning through consumables, mind investment means you get more value out of every resource. Witchery is a stat for people who care about spells as more than panic buttons. It increases spell damage, makes status effects stronger, and improves your overall spell uptime. If you want your spells to be central to your kit, for crowd control, for burst, for deleting priority targets, Witchery is a stat you stack. If you prefer coming out guns blazing, hold on. There's another stat for you. Arsenal is gun damage and gun feel. The game tells you it boosts weapons performance, which is true, but in practice you feel it 2 ways. Your guns hit harder and they handle better. That means more damage per shot and a nicer recoil profile and responsiveness. If you're a gun-focused player, prioritizing weapon choice over spell choice, Arsenal is a big part of that power. When Arsenal is high, even basic guns feel great. When it's low, good guns feel like they're underperforming. Faith is the weird one. It's about passive bonuses and luck. Beneficial procs, favorable outcomes, little moments where things go right that maybe shouldn't. Faith shines when you already have a decent kit, strong spells, good weapons, good relics. It doesn't scream I'm doing 20% more damage every shot, but it quietly stacks the deck in your favor. If you like runs where you feel oddly lucky, more loot, more saves, more synergies happening in your favor, Faith is the stat that feeds the fantasy. That's the stat layer. Now let's plug those into each class and talk about how they play. Butcher is your frontline tank. This is a class for players who want to be in the fight, not just orbit around it. Stat-wise, Butcher leans heavily into flesh and blood. You're built to take hits and stay mobile at close to mid-range. Witchery is lower, so spells are more of a support tool early. Arsenal is good enough to keep your guns feeling comfortable, but survivability is the main priority. Your starting guns are Midas and Hunger. Midas covers general mid-range work. Hunger is a mid-range revolver that hits hard and feels satisfying once you get the rhythm down. On top of that, you get the bittersweet Nightshade Talisman, which triggers a powerful shockwave when you're low on health and take damage. In other words, when things go bad, Nightshade kicks out a get-off-me type blast that can clear space and save a run. In practice, playing Butcher feels like this. You push into a mid-range, you trade hits, and you're allowed to make positioning mistakes. Flesh means you don't instantly explode, blood keeps you mobile, and Nightshade covers the worst moments when you're one hit from death and something tags you. With this, you can afford to learn the game's enemy patterns and boss attacks without ever being it fatal. The class is listed first for a reason. If you're new to Witchfire, the Butcher is your don't die, I'm still learning pick. If Butcher is the tank class, Hunter is the generalist class. No big gimmicks, no extreme weaknesses, just solid gunplay with comfortable stats. Hunter leads into blood and decent toughness, plus enough arsenal that your guns feel good right away. Witchery is lower, so spells are more secondary early on. Mind and other utility stats help you stay stable during runs without feeling like a dedicated support build. You start with Ricochet and Hunger. Ricochet is an auto rifle that does what it says. Rounds can ricochet between marked enemies, making it great for packs and clustered fights. Hunger, again, is that reliable mid-range revolver you'll see on multiple classes. Your talisman is Painted Tooth, which adds burn damage on crits. That means if you can land headshots and critical hits consistently, you're getting extra damage over time on top of your raw gun damage. Playing Hunter feels like playing a classic shooter with some dark fantasy dressing. You move, you position, you shoot. Spells exist, but they're tools rather than the star of the show. Arsenal keeps your gun strong and comfortable, blood keeps you moving, and Painted Tooth quietly boosts your output if you're precise. If your fun in Witchfire is, I want good guns, decent movement, and I'll worry about magic later, Hunter is that choice. Slayer is a spell assassin. This class is for players who want magic to be central and are comfortable playing aggressively to make it work. Slayer pushes Witchery high and pairs it with respectable flesh and stamina. Arsenal is lower at the start, so guns are strong but not the main event. Your actual power spikes come from spells. You start with Cricket and Hunger. Cricket is a close-range machine pistol with very high DPS if you stay in its effective range. Hunger covers mid-range, so you're not useless when you step back. Your spell and talisman setup is Lightning Bolt, a ranged shock stun spell. That's huge for this class. You can lock down dangerous enemies, burst them, or set up kills with your guns after immobilizing them. With high Witchery, Lightning Bolt isn't just a nuisance effect, it's a central part of your loop. Playing Slayer feels like this. You open fights with magic, you shock or stun key targets with Lightning Bolt, then you push in aggressively with Cricket for high DPS, or stay safe with Hunger if the situation demands it. Witchery investment keeps your spells coming off cooldown, often enough that fights start to revolve around that spell cadence. If you like finding windows and you don't mind being a little more fragile on the gun side at the start, Slayer is one of the most explosive and satisfying classes. Shadow is your stealthy sniper. This is a class for players who want to sit back, line up shots, and delete targets from distance instead of brawling. Stat-wise, Shadow pushes Witchery and Arsenal up, but blood and flesh down. So you're deadly but not durable. Your damage and gun feel are great, your ability to eat mistakes is poor. You're meant to operate at long range and use your tools to avoid close range chaos. Think glass cannon. Shadow's gun identity is built around long range, high damage shooting, sniper style weapons that reward precision and punish you for whiffing shots. Different patches may shuffle with exact guns you start with, but the fantasy stays the same. You're a long-range specialist. Your spell and talisman here is Shockwave, which stuns or exhausts enemies that get too close. That's your last line of defense when someone breaches your preferred distance. Shockwave buys you breathing room to reposition, reload, or line up another shot. Playing Shadow feels like this. You take your time, you hold angles, pick targets, and rely on crits and precision to carry fights. You don't want to be in the middle of the mob. You want to be 1 or 2 steps removed from the action. If you miss position, your low flesh and blood mean you get punished hard, and suddenly Shockwaves becomes your emergency brake. If your natural style is slow breath, 1 clean shot at a time, and you're used to playing glass cannon snipers in other games, Shadow will feel right. Just understand it asks more from you in terms of awareness and positioning. I found it very rewarding in the early game. Saint is a lucky hoarder. You pick this class when you care more about loot, relics, and long-term synergies than early comfort. Saint's stats skew towards faith. You're not the toughest or fastest out of the gate, but you're more likely to see beneficial effects, lucky breaks, and valuable drops as you play. Arsenal and Witchery could be built up, but the defining trait is luck and gear. Saint is the lucky hoarder. You pick this class when you care more about loot, relics, and long-term synergies than early comfort. Saint's stats skew toward faith. You're never the toughest or fastest out of the gate, but you're more likely to see beneficial effects, lucky breaks, and valuable drops as you play. Arsenal and Witchery can be built up, but the defining trait early on is luck and gear. Saint starts with Ricochet and Hunger again. Solid mid-range guns you already know how to use from other classes, but the real selling point is gear. It's the only class that starts with a demonic weapon and a relic. And they're good ones. Ice Sphere and Book of Serpents. That's early access to powerful tools that no other class has. Playing a Saint feels like this. The early game is slightly sharper. You don't have Butcher's padding or Hunter's raw simplicity, but your kit is already skewed towards strong items and lucky interactions. As you continue playing, Faith and your starting relics help you build out weird, powerful setups more quickly than other classes. If you're the kind of player who doesn't mind a bit of struggle, and if it means more fat loot and cooler builds later, and that brings us to Penitent. If Witchfire feels to you like Dark Souls with guns, which I believe it does, Penitent is your Wretch class. It's for players who already understand the game and want to start from essentially nothing and build a character by hand. Your stats as Penitent are basically baseline. You don't come in with a big flush pool, huge Witchery, or a strong arsenal buff. You also start with only one gun, Hunger. There's no second weapon safety net. Gear-wise, you have almost nothing. You're meant to claw your way up. Playing Penitent feels tight, especially in early runs. You're relying on your knowledge of enemy patterns, map awareness, and smart stat investment to turn this blank slate into whatever you want. The advantage is complete freedom. You can go tank, sniper, spell assassin, loot hoarder, it's all open. The disadvantage is that you have to earn every bit of comfort. If you're already comfortable with Witchfire, or you like challenge modes, permadeath themes, and min-maxing from scratch, Penitent is a class that gives you that experience. To close this one out, here's the simple mapping you can use next time you're starting at the class select screen. If you like not dying while you learn, pick the Butcher. If you like gun first, mid-range, first-person shooter, pick Hunter. If you like long-range sniper gameplay, pick Shadow. If you like spells and aggressive magic, pick Slayer. If you like loot, relics, and lucky runs, pick the Saint. If you like hardcore challenge and min-maxing, pick the Penitent. Remember, you're not locking yourself out of weapons or any spells long-term. Classes are just your starting template. Your first stats, your first guns, your first taste of synergy. Once you understand your own playstyle, picking the right class is less about what's meta and more about what makes the game feel good from hour one. Drop your favorite class in the comments and tell me how you're building your custom class. Making your own class that feels like your own is one of the best things about this game. That's all I have, and happy witch hunting.